You open your eyes for the very first time. There's no warmth, no mother's gentle whisper, no soft hands waiting to hold you. Instead, the world greets you with cold steel and glaring lights. The air tastes of iron, thick with sterility. You're not in a crib. You're in a chamber. Figures stand above you, dressed not in white coats or kind smiles, but in armor. Their faces are hard, unreadable, their eyes not filled with wonder at your arrival, but calculation. You hear the low hum of machines as monitors track your pulse, your breaths, your strength. One of them mutters numbers, another adjusts a dial. You don't know what they mean, but you understand this. You are being judged. Every twitch of your newborn muscles, every ragged cry is evidence. Evidence of whether you deserve to live. To your left, another newborn whimpers weakly. The armored figures glance over, exchange a silent look, and with a curt nod, the infant is carried away. You never hear another sound. The room feels colder. Then one of the figures leans over you. Their voice is sharp, devoid of affection. Strong enough, they say. Strong enough, this is your welcome into life. Not love, not joy, not family, strength, or nothing. You don't know it yet, but this is the Viltrumite way. Only the strong survive. The weak are erased before they even take their first step. And you? You've just passed the very first test. You're not cradled in a mother's arms. You're placed into a sealed chamber of steel. The gravity inside is 4 times that of Earth. From the very first moment, your body is bent under a weight no infant should bear. Every breath is a war. Every twitch of your tiny limbs is smothered by the invisible hand of gravity pressing you flat against the floor. Your cries echo against the metal walls, unanswered, uncomforted. In another world, a parent would have rushed in to lift you, to hold you close. Here, your parents stand outside the glass, arms crossed, their faces hard. They watch, they measure, but they do not soothe. Their love is not given freely. It is rationed, conditional. You will only be worthy if you endure. Hours blur into days. The chamber becomes your cradle and your coffin all at once. You don't learn safety or warmth or tenderness. You learn that to exist is to resist. That even as a newborn, your tears don't matter. Only your strength does. By the time you can walk, playtime is already over. Your toys are not dolls or blocks. They are weighted slabs heavier than your body. You're told to lift them, stack them, throw them. Each one strains your arms, pulls at your joints, crushes your spine. Fail, and you fall. Succeed, and the adults nod silently, arms still crossed. No cheers, no comfort, just acknowledgement that you've met expectation. You don't learn games, you learn levitation drills. While human toddlers stumble with their first steps, you are ordered to rise from the ground, to hover, to defy gravity itself. When you falter, no one helps you up. Instead, you hear the cold reminder, a true Viltrumite stands on their own. And then comes your first real test. At just a few years old, you are led into a ring where another child waits. He is older, larger, his muscles honed by the same merciless training. There are no referees, no safe words, no mercy. The command is simple: fight. He lunges first. His fist slams against you and you crash to the ground. For a moment, you want to cry out, for a parent, for comfort, for help, but no one moves. You see your parents watching from the edge, their arms folded, their eyes locked on you like judges at a trial. Something inside you hardens. You push yourself back up, trembling. You swing wildly, your fist connecting with his jaw. He stumbles, and the crowd erupts into applause. Not for love, not for you, but for the victory itself. At 5 years old, you've learned the first truth of being Viltrumite. Weakness is punished, survival is celebrated. Your first day of school isn't filled with chalkboards, storybooks, or laughter. On Viltrum, childhood education isn't about curiosity. It's about conditioning. History class is a theater of conquest. You don't learn about cooperation, invention, or art. You learn how your ancestors burned cities, broke civilizations, and bent weaker species to their will. The teachers describe bloodshed the way humans might describe great discoveries. The walls of your classroom are lined with murals, not of thinkers or poets, but of warriors with bloodied fists, frozen in poses of domination. Mathematics isn't about numbers for their own sake. Every lesson is tied to war. Equations show you how to calculate the arc of a strike from orbit, how many bodies a collapsing bridge will crush, or how long a population can resist before starvation breaks them. You don't learn problem solving for peace. You learn logistics for genocide. And then comes physical education. For human children, PE is dodgeball and jumping jacks. For you, it's full contact combat. The gymnasium is an arena. Teachers stand with whips and spears, barking commands. Failure is punished with bruises, cuts, and humiliation. Success earns nothing but a cold nod of approval. By the time you are 7, your daily schedule looks like this. Conquer the past in history, weaponize the present in math, prepare to dominate the future in combat. Childhood here is not a stage of innocence. It's a draft into empire. By age 8, your teachers say you are old enough to hear the truth. They dim the classroom lights and project holograms of your ancestors, armored and blood-soaked. The lesson is about the Purge, an event etched into every Viltrumite's identity. Thousands of years ago, your people turned on themselves. The strong gathered in armies and declared that the weak had no right to live. Anyone too fragile, too hesitant, too slow was slaughtered. Families turned on their own. Cities collapsed into rivers of blood. In a single generation, half the population was gone. The images sear into your young mind. Soldiers dragging children into the streets, executions carried out with surgical cruelty, the corpses piled high under a red sky. But here, the purge is not condemned. It is celebrated. The teacher's voice carries reverence. This is when we became who we are. This is when weakness was erased and strength was eternal. You glance around the classroom. Some children's eyes burn with pride, others with fear, but no one dares speak against it. You understand the unspoken rule. If you question the purge, you mark yourself as weak, and weakness is still death. The purge becomes more than history, it becomes prophecy. The lesson is drilled into you again and again. You are alive because your bloodline survived this cleansing. You must never betray that legacy. At night you dream of it. Rivers of blood, towers collapsing, shadows of giants tearing apart the sky. You wake trembling, but no one comforts you. Instead, you're told, good. Fear makes you strong. Remember it. At 10 years old, you're sent on your first observation mission. The term sounds academic, like watching stars or recording notes. But what you're really being sent to observe is cruelty. Your squad lands on a conquered world. The air reeks of smoke and charred bodies. You march through blackened streets until you reach the prisoners. Dozens of locals, beaten, shackled, forced to kneel in the dirt. Their eyes lift toward you. They are terrified but also pleading, as if even in this moment they believe a child might show mercy where adults will not. Your squad leader, a towering Viltrumite with gray scars across his face, points at you. His voice is devoid of emotion. Decide their fate. You freeze. You are 10 years old. These are grown men and women huddled together, trembling. You feel your heart hammering against your ribs, your tiny fists shaking. For 1 second you want to say it. Let them live. But the memory of your training claws at you. You remember the chamber, the weighted blocks, the fights, the purge. You remember what happens to those who hesitate. Your instructors told you again and again, hesitation is weakness, and weakness is death. Your hand trembles as you point, not to mercy, but to the execution squad. The prisoners' cries are drowned by blasts of energy. The air fills with the sound of bodies hitting the ground. Your vision blurs with tears you don't allow to fall. That night, for the first and last time, you lie awake haunted by guilt. But in the morning, your commander claps you on the shoulder. "Good," he says, "you did what had to be done." And just like that, guilt is rebranded as strength. Compassion dies in you before it ever had a chance to live. The briefing is 4 sentences long, delivered without inflection. Location, resistance estimate, target, extraction window. You're assigned command because you survived more drills than the others. There's no ceremony, just a gesture toward the exit hatch and a reminder. Objectives over bodies. You drop through cloud and ash into a city rib-caged by broken towers. Your squad fans out the way you practiced on sand tables. 2 on overwatch, 2 on flank, you and a heavy to breach. The smell is wire, ozone, and the sweet rot of things recently alive. Your fist shears the door. Inside, heat signatures 4. You count them down with the calm voice they trained into you. Left, low, center, high, and the room obeys. Outside, resistance swells. Not a rabble. Disciplined, angry, cornered. A beam cuts past your ear and turns the wall into a scream of dust. You signal advance. The heavy lags a beat. You glance back. His chest blooms, then quiets. There's no time to pull him. You feel the smallest, treacherous tug in your ribs and crush it. Objectives over bodies. You reach the relay core and tear the heart from the enemy net. Their comms die mid-plea. Extraction window narrows. You mark 2 more names in your visor. Gone on the run back. Silhouettes falling through smoke like burned paper. The dropship door closes on the last of the gunfire. Debrief lasts 13 seconds. Target eliminated. Minimal delay. 3 losses. A datapad records the dead as integers. A gauntlet lands twice on your shoulder. Not comfort, calibration. Victory stands. Replace the fallen. You rinse the black off your hands and discover it doesn't come off. They fly you to a moon that looks like a knife. The shuttle rolls and empties you into heat that tastes metallic. Gravity is a fist on your spine. 3 times Viltrum's, enough to make seasoned candidates grunt when they pretend they don't. The instructors don't speak about rules, the landscape does. The ground is serrated glass. Wind carries needles. You move and something in your thigh tears like wet cloth. Behind you, a candidate's ankle folds. He crawls 3 steps before the ridge takes him. No one is permitted to help. Not allowed. Not permitted by physics and doctrine. Tasks appear as hard truths staked into the rock. Ascend a wall that sheds your grip like snakeskin. Cross a salt flat that drinks water from your bones. Drag a sled loaded with ore that is exactly the mass of your doubt. At night, there is no night, just a paler version of glare. You sleep in slices, cheek pressed to a stone that dreams of cutting you open. Hunger arrives with arithmetic. You count ration pains and muscle groups you're willing to let devour themselves. Breathing turns into a metronome for pain. Candidates ahead become distances, then specks, then nothing. Footprints fill with a thin blood that could be anyone's, and therefore is everyone's. Your world narrows to 4 instructions. Step, don't slip, don't stop, don't die. On the 5th rise, you stop pretending to be strong and simply are. The moon teaches velocity without speed, power without flourish, leadership without words. When the transport's shadow finally crosses you, there are fewer helmets than when you landed. The instructors note a number on a slate as if measuring rainfall. They herd you into stone that has learned the language of impact. The arena floor is scarred with half moons where bodies met ground hard enough to write history. Above, tiers of armor glitter like teeth. Your name is spoken, then his, Laro. Older now, thicker through the shoulders, eyes that smile without warmth. Childhood ends between you and a line of powdered rock. There is no count. The air twitches, and he is already inside your reach, a hammer with a heartbeat. You pivot, not away, but past, feeling the wake of his fist unbutton the space your head used to occupy. He commits, overcommits, like he did as a boy, like he was praised for, and you accept his gift. Heel plants, hip turns, arm is a cable. All the moon's lessons focus into a single, exact answer delivered to the hinge of his jaw. Sound leaves the arena. Laro's momentum finishes without him. He folds around your strike and becomes a problem gravity can solve. When he hits, dust lifts in a low ring that finds your boots and decides to stay. The adjudicator raises a hand. Not to you, over you, as one gestures at a lever that functions. The stands murmur in a frequency that isn't approval and isn't contempt. It is data being filed. You stand where you are until you understand the truth blinking in your sternum. Fear is loud, validation is silent, and both leave you empty. They build a city that breeds hostility and call it a simulation. It is more honest than most cities. Your objective glows on a hololive. Infiltrate the stronghold, eliminate defenders, extract. The twist isn't a twist. 2 partners assigned, Corvin, precise as a scalpel, Viltrumite, a spark in a munitions locker. You sketch a plan that uses edges, silence, patience. Viltrumite is already moving, a comet tracing a line across a very flammable sky. She takes a corner like a thrown knife and meets an ambush the way a thrown knife meets armor. The first volley chews the parapet inches from her throat. Corvin yanks her into cover with a motion so clean it might be choreography. Your voice threads the channel. Reset, my line. You change the problem, not the goal. Corvin ghost steps to high sight lines and unthreads the sentry lattice with shots that sound like polite refusals. You and Viltrumite become a hinge. She draws attention in deliberate bursts. You fold the map around the noise she makes. The stronghold breathes, inhales you, and on the exhale you are past the teeth. Inside, defenders are not rookies. They fight like men who've kept cities alive. You answer with economy. 3 movements per room. Entry, interruption, erasure. Extraction is a corridor of bad decisions offered to your enemies. They take them all. When you clear the final stair, daylight looks surprised to see you. The debrief is a sculpture of straight lines. Objective achieved. Entry route suboptimal at start. Asset Viltrumite. Impulsivity offsets improvisational value. The phrase, "a team is only as strong as its weakest link," is placed on the table between you like a blade you are meant to swallow. Viltrumite's jaw tightens. Corvin's eyes are still measuring distances no one else sees. You file the lesson where pain goes. Weakness is not healed here. It is isolated, labeled, and left outside in the weather. The instructors don't explain the rules because there are none. They only open the gates to a landscape carved for violence. Jagged cliffs, caves that whisper ambush, ridges that slice the sky. Dozens of candidates spill onto the ground at once, each one armored only by desperation. The command is a single sentence: be the last one standing. At first, alliances bloom like desperate flowers. Groups huddle behind stone outcrops, swearing whispered oaths. We'll watch each other's backs. We'll survive together. But the instructors have seeded this test with the one truth you've been taught since birth. Trust is weakness, and weakness is bait. You move through the terrain, every step a calculation. Screams echo, then cut short. The air carries the sharp tang of blood and ozone. A pair of candidates rush you together, promising surrender if you spare them. You know better. When their hands twitch toward hidden blades, you drive one into the rocks and snap the other's arm before silence claims them both. Hours pass. Fatigue sets in, but adrenaline makes you sharp. You watch a boy you trained beside for years slit the throat of a girl who once shared her rations with him. He doesn't even look back as her body folds into the dirt. The word friend begins to rot in your head. By the second night, only a handful remain. You and Corvin, your sharp-eyed partner from the team simulation, move together. backs brushing, unspoken rhythm guiding your steps. You've saved each other's lives more than once. It feels like trust, though you both know trust is poison here. The final clash comes at dawn. The last of your rivals fall under your combined assault, one crushed by Corvin's precision, another dropped by your strike to the spine. Then the silence comes, heavy and suffocating. There are two of you left. Corvin's chest rises and falls. He meets your eyes. For a heartbeat, you imagine an impossible outcome. Two victors side by side rewriting the rules. But the instructor's gazes are on you. Their silence is a blade pressing into your back. Only one can live. Corvin shifts, just slightly. Not a threat, just a question in his eyes. And that's enough. You strike first, a clean surgical blow. He falls without a word. The arena is quiet except for the sound of your own breathing. You stand alone, bloodied, bruised, victorious. The battlefield is still littered with the fallen when the horn sounds. You stand alone, your chest heaving, dust caked into the blood that streaks your face. Around you, bodies lie in grotesque sculpture. Friends, rivals, strangers, all equal now in silence. The instructors descend from their platforms like statues breaking loose from stone. Their armor catches the light. Cold and impersonal. You brace yourself. Some part of you still imagines a word of praise, a touch of recognition, some scrap of warmth to justify the carnage. Instead, a slate is lifted, and your name is recorded. A mark beside it, survive. One of the instructors steps forward and presses an insignia into your hand. A simple medallion of dark metal stamped with the sigil of the Empire. The weight is heavy, but not as heavy as the truth. It isn't a gift, it's a receipt. Proof that you did what was required. There is no roar of triumph, no cheering crowd, no collective surge of energy to remind you that you are not alone. The other candidates' families weep quietly over corpses being carted away, while your parents simply nod once from the edge of the arena, their expressions unreadable. You've survived. You've been chosen. You are now a Viltrumite warrior, and yet standing in the dust, insignia biting into your palm, you feel nothing but emptiness. No joy, no belonging. Just the echo of Corvin's eyes in the moment before you struck him down. The instructors turn away as quickly as they arrive. To them, your victory isn't extraordinary. It is expected. Survival is not celebrated here. It is the baseline of existence. And so the hollow truth settles in. The insignia doesn't mean you've won. It means you've proven you are worth keeping alive, at least for now. You're not a child anymore. You're not a trainee. You are a Viltrumite warrior. Insignia etched into your armor, your name inscribed into the Empire's ledger of the living. And with that title comes the endless cycle that will define the rest of your life. Conquest. Every dawn begins the same way, summoned to briefing halls carved from black stone, flanked by banners of past victories. The holograms flicker to life, displaying the next target, a world marked red, a population tagged as resistant. Your squad is assigned coordinates, fleet numbers, and a timetable. The words are stripped of humanity, not cities, but fortifications, not people, but population units. The planet is already described as a possession before you even arrive. The doors open. You launch into the void. At first, the rush is intoxicating. The power coursing through your veins, the speed of flight that bends sound and space, the way armies scatter like frightened birds at the sight of you. You descend into skies that blaze with fire, your body cutting through resistance like a blade through silk. You crush war machines with your fists. You tear through battalions as if they are children. Entire civilizations collapse under your squad's advance in hours. But victory loses its flavor quickly. Because when the smoke clears and the last defender falls, there is always another planet, another target, another resistant population. Each triumph feels identical. A million faces blur into one expression: fear. Their pleas always sound the same, no matter the language. please, mercy, we surrender. And every time the orders are the same: reduce them, pacify them, absorb what remains into the Empire's veins. The first few years you try to hold on to the thrill. You count your victories, measure your strength against your comrades, keep score as though glory is a game. But then the numbers climb too high. 5 planets, 15, 50, 100. After a while, the difference between your first conquest and your 50th is the same as the difference between 1 drop of blood and a river of it. Quantity erases meaning. Your life becomes routine. Descend, destroy, depart. Descend, destroy, depart. You stop remembering the names of the worlds you burn. You stop remembering the faces of the people you kill. What you do remember are the silences, moments after the screaming ends, when the cities lie broken and the air is heavy with smoke, when you stand among ruins and feel absolutely nothing. There is no victory song, no parade. The Empire does not cheer for you. They do not need to. You are not fighting for glory. You are fighting because it is what you were born to do, and to stop would be weakness. At night, back aboard the warships, the mess hall buzzes with noise, clinking armor, the hum of recited reports, the occasional roar of laughter at a shared kill. But you don't join them anymore. You sit in silence, staring into your ration tray, the taste of iron refusing to leave your mouth. Around you, fellow warriors boast of their kill counts, their efficiency, their destruction. They are loud, alive, intoxicated by blood. But you feel the weight of something they pretend not to: emptiness. You begin to notice the cracks, not in the walls of the Empire, but in yourself. You fly into battle, and even as your fist connects, even as enemies fall, you wonder, what is the point? Because the wars never end. Because no matter how many planets you conquer, the Empire always demands more. Because every day, you are less a person and more a weapon. You think back to the gravity chamber, to your first fights, to the moment you chose execution over mercy. You thought it would all add up to something, to meaning, to belonging, to honor. Instead, it has added up to nothing but repetition. You've become the very thing they raised you to be: efficient, lethal, unstoppable, and completely hollow inside. You return home after another campaign, armor still flecked with soot, from a world whose name you no longer remember. You expect another assignment waiting, another mission brief. Instead, there's a summons, personal, not military. The kind of message that carries weight even a warrior feels. Your father is dead. The words strike harder than any fist ever could, though they're delivered as coldly as a mission update. Training accident. He fell in service. No explanation beyond that. No room for grief in the way the message is read. Just data. Another number in the ledger. The funeral is held in the Hall of Triumph, a cavernous space where the air hums with the echoes of past victories. Tall spires of stone rise like teeth, etched with the names of generals, commanders, and warriors who served with honor. You file in among hundreds of others, all armored, all silent. Your father's body is nowhere to be seen. There is no casket, no vigil, no tenderness, only a banner draped in the sigil of the Empire. A disembodied voice recites his service record: missions led, enemies destroyed, years devoted to conquest. The words are smooth, flawless, sanitized. Not one mention of the man behind the armor, not one word about his doubts, his silences. The nights he stood in the shadows of your home and stared too long at the stars. Because you remember. You remember the small things they don't want spoken aloud. The way his voice lowered when he told you stories that didn't match the official records. How sometimes, when he thought you were asleep, he muttered about wasted blood and questions better left unasked. You remember how he would pause before delivering an order, just for a heartbeat too long, as if testing the air for something human. And now, he is gone. The official line says accident, but whispers thread the corners of the hall that he was seen arguing with high command, that he hesitated in training, that he questioned an order during his last mission. You hear it in fragments: defiance, refused, execution dressed as tragedy. The Empire calls him loyal. The silence between words calls him traitor, and you are left standing between two truths, both of them unbearable. If the official story is right, then your father died pointlessly, reduced to another entry in the Empire's endless ledger of conquest. If the whispers are true, then he died resisting in the only way a Viltrumite can, quietly, subtly, crushed before rebellion could bloom. Either way, you realize something you cannot unsee. Your entire life has been built on a story someone else is writing for you. Victory after victory, battle after battle, all of it curated, edited, recited until it sounds clean. But beneath the surface, something festers. The Hall of Triumph erupts in ritual applause at the end of the ceremony, cold palms striking against gauntlets in unison, a hollow rhythm meant to echo unity. You do not join them. For the first time since the gravity chamber, you feel something crack inside you. Because if your father, a man who once whispered doubts, could be erased so easily, then what are you? A warrior, yes. A survivor, yes. But more than that, a cog in a machine that will grind you down just as easily when your usefulness ends. As the crowd disperses, you catch your reflection in the polished stone of the hall. For the briefest second, you see his face in yours, not the sanitized general they recited, not the loyal servant of the Empire, the man who doubted. And you wonder, is that your destiny too? The summons arrives the way it always does, curt, impersonal, impossible to ignore. You stand before the High Command in a chamber cut from obsidian, its walls etched with the victories of centuries past. The ceiling disappears into shadows, and the air is heavy with the weight of those who have been judged here before. They do not greet you. They do not praise your service. They recite your record like reading a menu. 42 campaigns, 83 planetary pacifications, 219 confirmed eliminations. Each number rolls off their tongues without emotion, as if they are already erasing the names, faces, and screams behind them. Then, the pivot. Your service continues, but your role changes. You expect another war, another planet to burn, another rebellion to crush. Instead, they hand you a data slate. The hologram flickers to life. A world you've never heard of. Green oceans, silver mountains, cities nestled into valleys like pearls. The name blazes across the top, Corrales. They tell you calmly that conquest is not your next mission. Not yet. First comes infiltration and reproduction. The words lodge in your chest. Reproduction. Not as choice, not as instinct, not as the private bond of two beings who find each other. No, as a mandate. Your genetics, they say, are exemplary. Generational strength, proven resilience, a body refined by years of surviving the trials of Viltrumite war. You are valuable now not as a soldier, but as breeding stock. The command is delivered without hesitation. You will travel to Corrales. You will integrate among the population. You will take a mate. You will sire offspring. They will be Viltrumite in blood, though raised under alien skies. They will be our seed, our shadow, our future. You stare at the hologram, the faces of the Coralline people smiling faintly in captured stills. People who know nothing of the empire that is coming. Their existence will soon fracture just as yours did, and then you understand the cruelty fully. The war you fight now isn't only with fists, it's in the veins of your children. 1,000 thoughts flash through your mind. Do you even belong to yourself anymore? Every inch of your body feels confiscated. Your strength, your survival, your victories, now even your bloodline. Even the most intimate act of your existence, the creation of life, is repurposed as a weapon. And you realize there was never freedom. From the gravity chamber of your infancy to this hall of judgment, every choice has been scripted, every breath measured, every part of you owned. The officer on the dais tilts his head slightly. His words are not a suggestion, they are the law. You will comply, or you will be replaced. There it is, the final erasure of autonomy. Not soldier, not conqueror, not even parent, just vessel. A host for Viltrumite expansion. You close your fist around the insignia at your chest and feel its cold bite against your palm. The same insignia that once felt heavy with achievement now feels like a collar tightening around your throat. For the first time, you're not sure which is worse. The battles you've fought, or the ones the Empire now demands you create. The first thing that strikes you about Corrales is the quiet. You descend from orbit expecting the familiar roar of anti-air defenses, the shriek of alarms, the trembling of cities preparing to be torn apart. Instead, the skies are open, blue and endless. The land is green and unscarred. Rivers wind like silver threads through valleys that breathe with life. You realize with an ache you cannot name that you have never once seen a world untouched by fire. The Corallans greet you not with weapons drawn, but with open hands. They ask your name, not your rank. They offer food, not submission. You tell yourself this is strategy, an infiltration, a mask you must wear. But your body betrays you. For the first time in your existence, you are not treated as a soldier, a weapon, a threat. You are treated as a guest. You walk through their cities. There are no banners of conquest, no murals of blood-soaked heroes. The walls are painted with art, spirals of color, images of families, festivals, rivers, and skies. Children run through streets without fear of being tested, weighed, measured. Their laughter is not defiance, it is simply joy. You stand among them and feel alien, as though you have landed not just on another planet, but in another truth. The Corallans work together, not under command, but under choice. Farmers share their harvest without tallying obligation. Neighbors repair each other's homes when storms break them. Their strength is not measured in kills, but in kindness. You meet her in the market square, Ara. She does not look at you like the Empire does, not as a tool or an asset, but as someone worth knowing. Her questions disarm you. Where are you from? Do you like music? Have you ever been in love? Simple words that feel more dangerous than any blade you've faced, because you have no answers that don't unravel you. And still, you stay. Days stretch into weeks. You begin to learn their rituals, the songs sung at twilight, the way they mark seasons with art and dance. You sit at tables where laughter rings louder than any war cry. You hold food in your hands that was given freely, not rationed for performance. At night, for the first time in your life, you sleep without the hum of warships in the distance. You tell yourself this is infiltration, that the peace you feel is a tactic, the affection growing inside you an illusion. But when Ara's hand touches yours, when she looks at you with a trust you have never earned, something inside you cracks wide open. Because this simple, ordinary life feels more powerful than any conquest you have ever fought for. And it terrifies you, because you know it is forbidden. The High Command will never allow you to belong here. They did not send you for love. They sent you to breed soldiers, to corrupt this world from the inside until it bends or breaks. Every smile you receive, every embrace you accept, every heartbeat you feel as your own, it is all temporary, all a lie you are ordered to weave. And yet, against every lesson beaten into you since the gravity chamber, you begin to want it. You begin to imagine a life not measured in battles won, but in moments shared. The first taste of peace is intoxicating. The first taste of love is unbearable, because now you know what has been denied you your entire life. And because you know, sooner or later, the Empire will come to take it away. The first time you hold your child in your arms, you realize how little you know about being human, about being more than a weapon. Their body is small, fragile, warm. They do not cry under gravity's fist or fight for their place. They simply breathe, trust written across every tiny gesture. You remember your own beginning, the chamber, the silence, the absence of comfort. You were taught that tears were weakness, that love was distraction. And in that moment, holding a child who knows nothing of the Empire, you vow that their first lesson will be different. So you teach them both. From Viltrum, you teach them strength, the power to lift boulders, to break steel, to endure pressure that would crush any other being. You guide them through exercises, their laughter ringing in the air instead of cries. You tell them, stand tall even when the world is heavy. But from Corrales, you teach them compassion. You let them stumble, and instead of cold indifference, you help them up. You sit by rivers and tell stories that are not about conquest, but about kindness. You bring them to the villages, where they learn that protecting someone is more noble than defeating them. They hear music instead of war horns. They see cooperation instead of domination. At night, when they sleep, you feel something you never thought you'd know: peace. The kind of peace you once saw in other families but thought was weakness. The kind of peace you now understand is strength of a different kind. But you also feel fear, because deep inside, you know you are trying to rewrite centuries of blood with a handful of moments. You are trying to heal wounds carved by generations of purges and indoctrination with lullabies and shared meals. And you don't know if it's enough. And here's where I need to pause and ask you, yes, you, watching this story unfold. What do you think matters more in the end? Is it strength? The power to survive anything? Or compassion? The choice to care when it costs you? Drop it in the comments. Because this is the knife edge your children now stand on, and the knife edge you've been forced to live on your whole life. The truth is, you're not just raising children. You're raising a question. Can a Viltrumite ever be more than what the Empire made them? The message arrives one night, delivered in cold words that cut through your fragile peace. Return to Viltrum, bring the offspring. No pleasantries, no acknowledgement of your life on Corrales, no recognition of the family you've built. To the Empire, your children are not children. They are assets. Half-breeds to be folded into the war machine, futures to be forged into fists. You sit in silence after reading the order, the firelight from the hearth dancing across your armor. Era looks at you, already knowing. She has seen the shadow in your eyes since the day you landed. You do not need to explain. Your children, still so young, play in the corner, building towers of stone and laughing when they fall. They have no idea what the summons means. To them, the Empire is a story you've kept locked away, a monster they've never met. The summons forces a choice you were never prepared to make. If you obey, you deliver them into the same cruelty you endured. The chamber, the trials, the blood. If you resist, you mark them as enemies of the most powerful force in the galaxy. There is no path without loss. You feel the weight of every lesson you've given them, strength and compassion both, pressing against you. You wanted to believe you could raise them differently. But now the Empire demands proof that your children are not yours at all. They belong to Viltrum. And here's where I need you, the viewer, to stay with this story. Because this isn't just about fantasy. This is the moment where the questions get uncomfortable. If you were in his place, if the system demanded your children, your blood, your future, would you surrender them to survive? Or would you defy it and risk everything? Comment below, because this is more than story, it's a mirror. As the fire crackles, you close your eyes and feel the fracture inside you widen. You are torn between two worlds, the one that forged you and the one you built. The summons is not just an order. It is the reminder of the truth you can never escape. You may have taught your children compassion. You may have found love on Corrales. But to the Empire, you are still only one thing, a Viltrumite. The summons echoes in your mind like a death sentence. You know the Empire doesn't wait. When they say return, what they really mean is submit or be hunted. So you stall. You send back coded messages about complications, about the children's delayed development, about conditions on Corrales that require more time. It buys you days, maybe weeks, but not more. Every hour becomes sacred. You take your children into the valleys, the mountains, the skies. You push them to their limits, not in the cold way your parents once did, but with urgency laced with love. You teach them how to fly higher, to hold their breath longer, to strike harder. But you also teach them the things Viltrum never allowed: when to retreat, when to show mercy, when to protect rather than destroy. At night, you sit them by the fire. You tell them the truth of where you came from, not the propaganda of the purges, but the reality of the chamber, the trials, the endless wars. You show them your scars and say, these are not medals, they are warnings. Ara watches you, her hand often lingering on your shoulder, her eyes heavy with the knowledge you both refuse to speak aloud. The Empire will come, and when they do, you cannot win. But you can prepare. You build hidden shelters, carve out escape tunnels, stockpile supplies. You train your children not only to fight, but to survive without you. Every lesson, every story, every whispered word becomes a weapon for their future. And through it all, you feel a fire rise inside you, a defiance you've carried quietly since the chamber, now finally ready to burn. For the first time, you are not fighting because the Empire demands it. You are fighting because you choose to. And that choice, small, dangerous, fleeting, feels more powerful than all the planets you ever conquered. The day arrives. The sky tears open with the roar of Viltrumite warships. Black banners blot out the sun, and with them descend the soldiers of the Empire. At their head is General Corv, armor gleaming, eyes pitiless. You recognize him, your first commander, the man who once ordered you to point at chained prisoners and decide their fate. Now, he comes for yours. The Corallans scatter in terror. Their peaceful streets turn to ash under the Empire's assault. You meet the invasion in the open, standing alone between them and your family. Your children cling to Era's side, their eyes wide, their bodies trembling, but you see the strength you taught them flickering beneath the fear. The battle is not a contest. You know that before the first strike. You fight with the rage of every silenced doubt, every stolen life, every childhood scream smothered in a gravity chamber. You shatter armor with your fists. You send soldiers crashing into stone. For a moment, you are the storm, unstoppable. But the Empire does not fight fair. Numbers overwhelm. Blows rain down. Every time you rise, another fist, another blade, another voice demands your submission. Your bones crack, your vision blurs, your body buckles. Still, you stand. Behind you, Ara ushers the children into the tunnels. Their eyes lock on yours one last time. You do not need words. They understand. This is not a fight you win. This is a fight you buy. Every second you endure, every wound you take, every scream you choke down is another moment for them to escape. Another heartbeat of freedom carved out of inevitability. And when Corv's hand finally pierces your chest, when the light drains from your eyes, you are not afraid. Because you know, they are gone. They are safe. And you chose this. The Empire records your death as betrayal. They erase your name from their archives, strip your insignia from the rolls, and bury you in silence. To Viltrum, you never existed. But to your children, you are everything. In the quiet forests beyond the cities, they grow in secret. They remember your lessons, strength and compassion, defiance and love. They remember the nights by the fire, the way you held them when they stumbled, the way you fought not for conquest, but for them. And when they speak of you, it is not as a soldier, not as a conqueror, but as a parent who chose them over the empire. One day, they will rise. One day, the shadow of Viltrum will stretch too far, and when they stand against it, they will carry not just your blood, but your choice. The story closes where it began, your voice echoing from the gravity chamber, the cold steel walls pressing against you. Only now, there is a different truth. Not bad for a child once left alone in a gravity chamber.